You and I, living in America, have been given a special gift, and that is to live in a free society. Here's the problem. If you have a free society, that means we, the people, have responsibility. Plato said something that is so important. One of the penalties of refusing to participate in politics in a free society, that's the politics he's talking about, that's what he's writing about in the Republic, is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. This is true. You see, some people look at the election that's coming up and they'll say, oh, it really doesn't matter who's elected. No, it really does matter. Leadership matters, laws matter, and those who enforce the laws, i.e. judges, they all really matter. And so if you and I, thinking about these things that matter, the question is, what do we do? Well, just go vote. There's going to be a bunch of people who say we should just go vote. In fact, a lot of pastors are just going to tell you, elections matter, just go vote. I'm going to say no. Elections matter. You better know what God cares about and vote accordingly because you are the stewards of God's grace. We'll see this in just a moment some more, but just bear with me. So we see this unfolding. JFK said something profound. Here's what he said. Let us not seek Republican answers or Democrat answers. You see, when you're ignorant, and this is a horrible thing, friends. You and I are manipulated when we're ignorant of something, we're easily manipulated. Not long ago, I was listening to a TED Talk, and this gal was talking about language and how you can only think in the vocabulary of the words that you have. How many of you can think in the words that you have? Then you know. And then you have to have definitions for those words. But you can't think beyond that. I'm sitting there thinking, that's absolutely true. You can't think beyond the theology truths that you know about God. So if I only know 3 things about God, that's as big as I can think about God. Or morality, or law, or governance, or leadership. I can only think as big as the vocabulary and the principles I have. And so we're going to try to expand that today because a lot of Christians are still thinking, oh, we should seek answers in parties. Friends, that's dangerous. Notice what he said. Let us not seek Republican answers or Democrat answers, but the right answers. That's what matters. That's what matters. He goes on and says, let us not seek to fix the blame on the past. We learned this from World War II in England. Winston Churchill was dealing with a bunch of politicians who were fighting. Oh, we should have done this with the Germans in the past. We should have done this. And finally, he just stood up in the middle of them and said, look, guys, if you keep arguing about the past, you're going to lose the present opportunity and our future will be squandered. And that's absolutely true. That's just what Satan loves it when we get so focused on the past that we are unable to function in the present and move forward. Notice what he says. He goes on, let us accept our own responsibility. Now, we live in a day and age where everyone's trying to avoid responsibility, but I just love the fact here that he drives this home. Let us accept our own responsibility for the future. You see, this election matters to the point, and every election matters, because laws are going to be set up. Things are going to be set into motion, whether it's with environment or economics, by the way, all laws have some sort of moral implication to that. You can't disconnect that. And so, assume the responsibility for our actions today because they're going to have trajectory. I recently had a Christian friend. We were talking about some of these things. He brought it up to me, and he says, well, I really don't care about any of those things. I'm not going to live to see some of this. I'm sitting there going, what a self-centered individual. Because you're to honor God today, whatever the future has, however it unfolds. But secondly, you and I should do good today, godly things today, because godly things matter for generations to come. Now, you've already studied David a little bit. When we get into 2 Kings, we're going to see 300 years later, the righteous things that David did in the nation are still impacting the nation 300 years later. You guys might have heard of a guy by the name of George Washington. Did he do anything in the past that you and I are still benefiting from today? Absolutely.